Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I'm Sandeep Srikanth. Over the past decade, the world's biggest car makers have been increasingly looking to the BRIC countries to grow sales, designing, developing, and building specific new models targeted at countries like Brazil, Russia, China, and India. General Motors is one of those big car makers looking to consolidate its presence in India, and just this past week, I had a chance to drive its latest offering. Take a look.
General Motors' Indian journey began almost 2 decades ago when the Opel brand was launched in India. In 2003, GM tied its India plans to the Chevrolet mark and has launched a series of cars like the Beat, Cruze and Captiva that have been well received by the market. With a stable base in place, GM has been looking to build market share and revenues and will launch a slew of new products over the next year, starting with this hatch.
China has increasingly become an important hub in the region for General Motors. So when it came time to replace the Aveo, instead of building an all-new car like Honda did with the Brio or Toyota did with the Etios and Liva, General Motors chose to bring in a bestseller from China. But does the new sale have what it takes to succeed in the Indian market? That's the question.
When we saw the sale for the first time at the Auto Expo in January, I did feel it was a bit too conservative. A good-looking, though not eye-catching hatchback, it does look fresher than its predecessor, the Aveo Yua, but the grille and bold gold bow tie are the only visual links to Chevrolet's other Indian offerings. The profile does manage a hint of poised to spring sportiness, though the rear styling is again a bit uninspired.
Indian hatchback buyers have been spoiled for choice over the past few years, and crucially, every new launch has brought something new to the table, at least in terms of styling. Even General Motors did that with the radically styled Beat, but sadly that's not the case with the Sail. This is a very pleasant car, but it's also completely undistinctive, and that's true even for the cabin.
Unlike the futuristic and funky interiors of the Beat, the Sail's cabin is covered in dull greige, with the silver finish on the center console offering the only visual relief. Equipment levels are good, with a Bluetooth-enabled audio system as well as twin airbags and ABS in the top variant, though the position of the power window switches is a turn-off. Front passengers will be comfortable, and the rear bench, though a bit flat, is very spacious and can even sit 3 in relative comfort.
But the Sail doesn't just score when it comes to space for passengers. As you can see, this is already one of the largest boots in the segment, but the Sail's party trick is the fact that its rear seats fold completely flat, opening up all that space. That's enough space to fit a small house in there if the need arises. The Sail hits the road running with 2 power plants. The 1.2-litre petrol engine from the Beat, which is currently under the hood of our test car, and a 1.3-litre diesel engine sourced from Fiat that also does duty in a lot of cars in Fiat, Tata Motors and Maruti's portfolio. But since I am driving the petrol, let's start with that.
While it is the same 1.2-litre SmartTech petrol engine as the Beat, a lightweight all-aluminium unit, the Sail's motor has been tuned to produce 86 PS of power and 113 Nm of torque, small but significant increases in both measures. Mated to a 5-speed gearbox, it propels the Sail from 0 to 100 km an hour in a surprisingly quick 13.5 seconds, while the city and highway mileage numbers stand at 12.9 and 18.9 km per litre respectively, making for an impressive overall figure of 14.4 km per litre.
While the 0 to 100 time is impressive, it is also kinda deceptive. You see, this petrol engine lacks serious low-end grunt, and as a result, it's not very drivable in the city. You need to rev it really hard to extract its performance, and that's not easy to do when you're floating around in first and second gear in bumper-to-bumper traffic, and it really is a recipe for road rage.
The 1.3-litre SmartTech diesel engine is also a familiar unit since it does duty on a number of other cars in India. But unlike Maruti's unit in the Swift, which makes 75 PS of power, GM's power plant puts out 78 PS and 205 Nm of torque. The diesel is definitely the more drivable sail variant with oodles of low-down torque, though a bit more turbo lag than you would see in a Maruti engine. The numbers 0 to 100 in 16.2 seconds and an impressive overall mileage of 17.25 kilometers per litre.
While the Sail has been driven straight in from China, and let me tell you, having been there, that most roads in China are almost completely flat and smooth, General Motors has paid a lot of attention tuning its suspension to suit Indian conditions. They've raised the ride height, softened things up just a bit, and as a result, the ride quality is fantastic. The Sail glides over everything but the largest potholes and once again scores very high on the comfort factor.
The Sail also exhibits surprisingly sorted handling characteristics. The steering is light, though not completely dead at speed, and though there is some body roll, no surprise when you consider the raised height and softer suspension, the handling is assured enough and the car is stable under heavy braking.
At first glance, the Sail does seem a bit underwhelming. It's only when you drive it around that you come to understand its value proposition. This car is 100% function, 0% flair, and it's priced to reflect that identity as well. Is that enough to mark its presence in a hotly contested segment in India? We'll be watching those sales numbers as closely as General Motors.